What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video at JDH Aquatics. I'm really excited to bring this video to you guys. We're going to be talking about this new LED grow light that I got from Home Depot. Not new that it came out, but it is new to me and new for the 20-gallon aquarium. It's an 18-watt fixture that we're going to be testing out for the mangroves. Now this is what the box looks like that the light comes in. As you guys can see, it's like a vegetable or herb growing light, maybe plant light for your house, but we're going to be using it for the mangroves, and I'm going to go into the details of the light. But as you guys can see, this thing is super bright. In some lighting it looks like the main reef light, the new Sight K7 Mini. It looks like it's off. That's how bright this thing is, and I'm sure it's just because of how many LEDs there are. There's a cluster of them versus this one puck that has a diffuser on it, but this thing just spills out light. It will be interesting to see how this light does with the corals and how they respond to it. So far it doesn't look like they're responding negatively. They're not closed up or anything, and it'll also be interesting to see if this light grows any sort of algae in the tank. So even though we're only growing mangroves under this light in this aquarium, I'm sure you could also grow some types of macroalgae as well. And I'll get into the different light modes and show you guys why. Now the spectrum that we have on this light right now is 50% white, 50% blue. There's only 3 different channel modes that you can sort through, so you can't change the spectrum that detailed. But I keep it on this spectrum because when they were underneath with the 3.7 gallons, the lighting spectrum that we had was more 50% white, 50% blue. There was no red. So we're gonna see how they do under this lighting, and if they start to seem like they're wilting or losing color, then we can switch to the different spectrums, which I'll show you guys here in a second. But for right now, we're gonna keep it at the half white, half blue. So I actually forgot to mention the price of this light. At Home Depot, it runs you about $65, and I actually had to buy an additional piece to mount it to the stand, which I'll show you guys here in a little bit as well. So it's not the cheapest light out there, and I'm not trying to make that the point of this video, but we just want to see if it's going to grow the mangroves. And the point of this light for me is that it looks really sleek and it actually fit my setup perfectly. Now before we get into the mounting of the light and how we got it attached to the stand, let's just run through the 3 modes or spectrums for this light. It is an 18-watt fixture, so even though it looks bright, it's really not that powerful. So we're on the 50% white, 50% blue right now, and this is the same spectrum or similar spectrum that they were growing in before. But if we jump one more over, we've got the 100% white, and this would probably be good for the mangroves, but if we do one more, we've got 50% blue, or excuse me, 50% white and 50% red. And this is like more of that plant spectrum. The mangroves would probably do good under this light. It might grow a little bit of algae in the tank, but for the testing, we're gonna be leaving it at the 50% white and 50% blue. So how did we mount this to the stand? It came with the stand itself. So this piece here, it's about maybe 14 inches long at the very top. That piece came with the light, and it also came with a base plate that is pretty much like the stand for it. However, it only allows maybe that 18, maybe 20 inches of height, but for the mangroves we needed about 24 inches or more. So I needed some sort of stand to put the light fixture onto that would raise it higher. So we're not using the base plate. As you guys can see at the bottom, it's a little hard to tell, but that's where the end of the pole is for the light itself. And then we got this squared aluminum pipe from Home Depot for like 15 bucks, and that's what is attached to the stand itself. So further down here, the pole goes down and attaches to one of the legs on the stand, and this is super DIY, but I use zip ties to attach it to the stand. I used a bunch so that, of course, it's not really going anywhere. It's not going to tip into the tank. If anything, it'll move from left to right, but it's super secure and it's not going anywhere. But we attached that metal pole to the stand, and then that's where the light goes up from there. So it gained us, that extra 14 inches there. And if we need to move it even higher, we can just snip the zip ties at the bottom and push it higher up. So as the mangroves grow taller, we can raise up the light. Sounds much more complicated than it is, but I did need to incorporate it because, you know, it was an extra 15 bucks that I had to spend, as, you know, well as the zip ties or whatever. But that's how we mounted it. And I think it works really well for the setup because you can't really see the pole at all. From the front, everything is kind of hidden. So the stand that I attached the light to, or the pole, it's hidden behind the tank, or if you really look, you know, far off to the left there, you can see it. But it's a squared pipe and it kind of matches the stand because it's black. It kind of gives off that industrial look, I guess. But the light itself is very sleek. It's kind of got this cool little angle to it. It's not directly over the mangroves, even though it kind of looks like it. But the light is so bright that it spreads out enough where, you know, it's touching the mangroves. If I need to, I can push the mangrove pods further back towards the back of the tank to get directly under the light. But again, I think it's bright enough. So I keep saying we're gonna test this light over the mangroves and see how it does, but the only real variables that I wanna observe is if it'll keep the mangroves alive, and that means, you know, if the leaves are gonna wilt away or if they lose any sort of coloring or brown out. And the second part of that is if it'll grow the mangroves. So we've had some really good growth in, you know, the past few months and a lot of new leaves sprouting out. So if we continue to see that, then I'm just gonna take that as a good sign. We're not going for anything crazy here. This is, you know, better than what we've had, you know, set up for the mangroves in the past. So I'm excited to see how this light's gonna do, and I think it just looks great over the tank. I have contacted NewSike about getting a second K7 Pro for the tank. So we have the Mini over the 20 gallon right now, but I would like the Pro over it just because it's got a little bit more spread. It's definitely more powerful. It'll have the same spectrum as the 38 gallon, so it'll look, you know, matchy. And then the actual mount itself, it's an aluminum arm rather than this like bendable arm. So it looks a little bit better in my opinion. I think I would keep the K7 Mini for some sort of Pico setup that I do, but I would like a K7 Pro for the main LED over this tank. Check back in a little bit to see how the mangroves are doing. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments down below, or you guys can probably reach me better at my Instagram. The link is in the description below as well. But you know, again, for 65 bucks, you know, I think it's a good price for the type of light it is. I know it is a little bit on the higher side. You could definitely get something cheaper, but I'm not able to hang any lights, and we needed something tall enough for these fast growing mangroves. So I think it works for me. I wasn't breaking the bank too much, and it should be a reliable light. So if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. But with all that being said, I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.